Hey everybody, welcome back to the show. Thanks so much for tuning in again with us this week. Today we are going to be talking about going back to school or pursuing a new career path. It's important that coming into early recovery that you should take some time to clear the fog, let your brain settle a little bit. You know, you're coming out of sort of like a traumatic point in your life. So it's important to kind of let yourself settle out, gain some balance in what you're doing, and really focus on your recovery and not really make any major life changes, in my opinion, within the first 6 months to a year. And now that really depends on your personal situation. Like I always suggest communicating with your sponsor, communicating with your support group, even counselors or therapists or anybody that you may be in communication with that can sort of help navigate you through these choices. But always I say at least give yourself a little bit of time where you can really focus in on recovery. Like we talk about those 90 meetings in 90 days and getting a sponsor and building a support group, really making sure that you're taking time to do those things so that when these major life choices come up, you have a solid foundation of people to communicate with when you're going through the list of different things that you may want to do, whether that's school or a job or a career path. It's always a good idea to make sure that you're in like a really good position spiritually, emotionally, mentally, before you make those kinds of decisions, because the last thing you might want is to get to a certain point and then you look back and you're like, what was I doing? For some addicts coming into recovery, most of us, when we get clean, we may not have had a lot of education or have had serious careers, if you will. We may have worked odd jobs here and there or in fast food or in the restaurant industry. So sometimes it can be a little bit overwhelming when you get here and you're like, oh, I want to do all of these things. Like for me personally, one of the things that I wanted to do was go back to school. I felt like I had this new lease on life. So I immediately went back and what I chose in the moment was business management. And it's because I had been a manager at previous jobs before and I was like, well, this is the perfect place to go. So I feel like I kind of jumped the gun on that and didn't really give myself a chance to figure out what exactly I wanted to do and where exactly I wanted to go with that degree before I got there. So, and then for some of us, there's the opposite spectrum. You've been in, you may be a professional and you're just now finding recovery, and maybe you're sitting here going, wait a minute, what if this career path that I've been on isn't where I've been supposed to be this whole time? So your first knee-jerk reaction is go back to school or, quit my job and try a different career path. That's why I think it's so important to stick to that suggestion of not making any major life choices like that within the first 6 months, because you could have very well had the perfect job and that was where you were supposed to be. It's just because of this wide range of emotions you may be experiencing in early recovery that's making you second guess or question where you are currently. In addition to talking to your sponsor or your support group, or maybe even an old counselor or a current counselor or therapist about these major life choices, a great place to get some experience, strength, and hope on this topic is in meetings. So I always suggest, whatever your fellowship is, walk in there, sit down, raise your hand and just say, I'm going through a phase right now where I'm questioning where I want to go with my career path or where I want to go with my education path, and I'd really like to hear some experience, strength, and hope on it, and listen up when people start talking about their experience, strength, and hope with those particular situations. That's quite literally why these rooms exist for us, so that we have like-minded people that can share their experiences that will help us then navigate these decisions in life. I want to wrap that up with saying, like, it is so important to obviously be thinking about your future and think about your career. But one of the biggest suggestions that's given to us when we get into recovery is to live just for today or one day at a time. So always remember that while you absolutely should be thinking for the future and thinking about what you want to do in life, to always make sure that you're staying in just for today as well, because future tripping can just cause so much damage. And utilize your support group and your sponsor. Like that's my biggest suggestion is those people are there for a reason, and we have people around us who have been where we are specifically so we can get guidance in those areas. Thanks again for hanging out with me this week. I hope to see some comments and some questions for you that I can either answer questions or, read your comments maybe. Also, please make sure you like this. And if you haven't already hit that subscribe button, please go ahead and do that. And again, I'm not a licensed professional. I don't have any certifications and I don't have any fancy letters behind my name. I'm just an addict in recovery here to share my experience, strength, and hope. Rolling, 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 rolling.